Most people think ringing in the ears is just something you have to live with after a certain age. Just part of getting older. I thought that too, until I started noticing a pattern in my patients. A 68-year-old retired teacher came to me for a pre-surgical consult. Healthy weight, walks every morning, takes her vitamins like clockwork. Perfect patient on paper. But she mentioned something that stayed with me. She said the ringing in her ears had gotten so loud over the past year that she couldn't hear her grandchildren properly anymore. She'd seen 3 specialists. All of them told her the same thing. Tinnitus. Age-related. Nothing to be done. Here's what nobody told her. What I'm going to tell you today. My name is Dr. Michael Hartwell. I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon with 28 years in the operating room. I've opened over 2,400 chests in my career. I've held beating hearts in my hands. And I've spent nearly 3 decades watching the same preventable patterns repeat. Patients who did everything right and still ended up dealing with symptoms that robbed them of quality of life. Today, I'm going to tell you what nobody took the time to explain to them. The hidden connection between that constant ringing in your ears and what's actually happening inside your body after 60. Your body after 60 is not the same machine it was at 40. That's not a moral judgment, it's biology. Think of it like an old car that's been running reliably for decades. Same engine, same frame, but the tolerances have changed. The margin for error gets smaller. Your circulatory system is a perfect example. The tiny blood vessels in your inner ear, we're talking vessels thinner than a human hair, those are some of the most delicate structures in your entire body. They need constant, steady blood flow to function. But after 60, your body's ability to maintain that steady flow becomes less reliable. Here's what's actually happening inside your ear. Your cochlea contains approximately 16,000 hair cells. These aren't hairs like on your head. They're microscopic sensory cells with tiny hair-like projections that bend in response to sound waves. Those cells convert mechanical movement into electrical signals your brain interprets as sound. They're irreplaceable. Once they're damaged, they don't regenerate. And they're extraordinarily vulnerable. Each of those hair cells depends on a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients delivered through the bloodstream. The blood vessels feeding them are so small that a single red blood cell has to squeeze through in single file. At 40, your body maintains that blood flow effortlessly. At 65, microcirculation starts to decline. Your blood vessels become less flexible. Inflammation increases. The delivery system starts to fail. Small deficiencies that your body could compensate for at 45 become real problems at 65. The reserve drops below the critical threshold. And when those hair-thin vessels in your inner ear don't get what they need, they start sending distress signals. You hear those signals as ringing. More than 50% of adults over 65 experience some form of tinnitus. Most of them have no idea it's connected to something their body is desperately trying to tell them. It's not random. It's not just aging. It's a deficiency your body is screaming about. Now let me walk you through the 5 things your body is lacking when your ears won't stop ringing. These aren't random supplements someone's trying to sell you. These are the specific nutrients your inner ear cannot function without. And after 60, your body's ability to absorb and use these nutrients drops dramatically, even if you're eating well. Number 1, magnesium. This one surprises people every time. Most people associate magnesium with muscle cramps or sleep, but here's what nobody tells you. The cochlea, that's the spiral-shaped organ in your inner ear that converts sound waves into nerve signals. It is one of the most magnesium-dependent structures in your entire body. Magnesium protects the delicate hair cells inside the cochlea from damage caused by loud noise, inflammation, and oxidative stress. After 60, your kidneys become less efficient at holding on to magnesium. If you're on a diuretic for blood pressure, and millions of seniors are, you're losing even more magnesium every single day through your urine. I've seen patients whose ears were ringing constantly, and their serum magnesium levels came back at the very bottom of the normal range. Technically not deficient by lab standards, but functionally starved. Let me tell you about a patient. I'll call him Robert. 71 years old, retired postal worker, loved fishing. He came to me because his primary care doctor wanted him cleared for a minor valve procedure. During our conversation, he mentioned the ringing had gotten so bad he couldn't enjoy sitting by the water anymore. The sound he used to find peaceful was now drowned out by the noise in his head. I asked if anyone had checked his magnesium. They hadn't. We ran a red blood cell magnesium test, more accurate than the standard serum test. He was severely depleted. Here's the question I want you to ask yourself right now. Are you on a water pill? A diuretic? Have you ever had your magnesium levels checked? Not just serum, but RBC magnesium. Write that down. The fix here costs almost nothing. 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate every evening with dinner. That's all. Give it 6 weeks and pay attention to whether the volume drops. Number 2. Zinc. Your inner ear has one of the highest concentrations of zinc in your entire body. Zinc is critical for the function of the auditory nerve, the nerve that carries sound signals from your ear to your brain. It also plays a massive role in reducing inflammation in the cochlea. After 60, your stomach produces less acid. Less acid means less zinc absorption, even if you're eating zinc-rich foods like meat and shellfish. If you're on a proton pump inhibitor, a PPI like omeprazole or pantoprazole for acid reflux, your zinc absorption drops even further. I have watched this pattern play out in case after case. A senior on a PPI for years develops persistent tinnitus. Nobody connects the dots. Here's the mechanism. Zinc deficiency leads to increased oxidative stress in the inner ear. That oxidative stress damages the hair cells and the auditory nerve. Those damaged structures start misfiring. You hear that misfiring as ringing, buzzing, or hissing. A study published in the American Journal of Otolaryngology found that seniors with chronic tinnitus had significantly lower zinc levels than those without it. And when they supplemented with zinc for 12 weeks, more than 80% reported a measurable reduction in the intensity of the ringing. Let me ask you something. Are you taking a medication for heartburn or reflux? Have you been on it for more than 6 months? Most patients have. Most patients are never told what it's doing to their nutrient levels. The fix. 30 milligrams of zinc picolinate once a day with food. If you're on a PPI, take it at a different time of day, at least 4 hours apart, starting tonight. 2 more items after this one. And item 4, that's the one that even I had a significant blind spot about for the first 15 years of my career. Stay with me. Number 3, vitamin B12. This is where it gets complicated. B12 is essential for the health of the myelin sheath, the protective coating around your nerves, including the auditory nerve. Without enough B12, that protective coating starts to break down. The nerve becomes hypersensitive. It starts sending false signals to your brain. You experience that as phantom sound, tinnitus. After 60, your body produces less intrinsic factor, a protein your stomach makes that's required to absorb B12. Even if you're eating meat, fish, and eggs, all high in B12, your body may not be absorbing it efficiently. If you're on metformin for diabetes, your B12 levels are almost certainly depleted. If you're on a PPI, same problem. If you drink alcohol regularly, your B12 reserves are being drained faster than you can replace them. I need you to hear this clearly because this is where the most preventable damage happens. B12 deficiency doesn't just cause ringing in your ears. It causes permanent nerve damage if it goes on long enough. I've seen patients whose tinnitus was the first warning sign of advanced B12 deficiency, and by the time we caught it, they also had numbness in their hands and feet, memory problems, balance issues, all of it connected to the same root cause. Here's a real example. A 66-year-old woman, type 2 diabetic, on metformin for a decade. She'd been complaining about ringing in her ears for 2 years. Her doctor ran a serum B12 test. It came back normal. But here's what nobody tells you. Serum B12 is not a reliable test after 60. You need methylmalonic acid, MMA, to know if your tissues are actually getting the B12 they need. We ran that test. Her MMA was elevated, functionally deficient despite the normal B12 number. We started her on sublingual methylcobalamin, 1,000 micrograms daily. Within 8 weeks, the ringing was 70% quieter. She cried in my office. She said, "Why didn't anyone tell me this 2 years ago?" That question stays with me. The fix. 1,000 micrograms of methylcobalamin B12, sublingual form, once a day. Not cyanocobalamin, methylcobalamin. Your body can use it immediately without having to convert it first. Number 4, omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA. Here's what I missed for years. I knew omega-3s were good for the heart, anti-inflammatory, protective for the cardiovascular system. What I didn't fully appreciate until later in my career was the degree to which the inner ear is a vascular organ. The cochlea depends on microcirculation, those hair-thin blood vessels I mentioned earlier. Omega-3s keep those vessels flexible and reduce inflammation in the endothelial lining. Without enough omega-3s, those tiny vessels become stiff and inflamed. Blood flow to the inner ear decreases. The hair cells don't get enough oxygen. They start to malfunction. You hear ringing. After 60, your body's ability to convert plant-based omega-3s, like the kind in flaxseed or walnuts, into the active forms EPA and DHA drops dramatically. You need the active forms. The only reliable source is marine-based, fish oil or algae oil. Most seniors are not getting anywhere near enough. The typical American diet provides maybe 100 to 200 milligrams of EPA and DHA per day. The amount you actually need to protect your inner ear? Closer to 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams. A study in the journal Otology and Neurotology followed seniors with tinnitus for 6 months. Half took a high-dose omega-3 supplement. The other half took a placebo. At the end of 6 months, the omega-3 group reported a significant reduction in the loudness and distress caused by the ringing. The placebo group saw no change. I can already hear the skepticism, and honestly, good. Healthy skepticism is what keeps us from falling for nonsense. So let me show you exactly why this works. Omega-3s reduce the production of inflammatory cytokines, signaling molecules that trigger inflammation. Inflammation in the cochlea is one of the primary drivers of tinnitus. Less inflammation, less misfiring, less ringing. The fix: 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA per day. Look for a high-quality fish oil or algae-based supplement that's been tested for purity. Take it with a meal that contains fat. It improves absorption significantly. Number 5. Coenzyme Q10, CoQ10. This is the one most people have never heard of in the context of tinnitus. CoQ10 is a compound your body makes naturally. It's essential for energy production in every cell, especially cells that have high energy demands, like the hair cells in your inner ear. After 60, your body's natural production of CoQ10 drops by more than 50%. If you're on a statin medication, and millions of seniors are, your CoQ10 levels are even lower. Statins block the same pathway your body uses to make CoQ10. The hair cells in your cochlea are some of the hardest working cells in your entire body. They never rest. They're constantly converting mechanical sound waves into electrical signals. That process requires enormous amounts of cellular energy. Without enough CoQ10, those cells can't keep up. They start to fail. You hear that failure as ringing. A clinical trial published in Otolaryngology Head and Neck Surgery tested CoQ10 supplementation in seniors with chronic tinnitus. After 12 weeks, participants taking 300 milligrams of CoQ10 daily reported a statistically significant reduction in the intensity and frequency of their tinnitus compared to the placebo group. Let me tell you about a patient. I'll call her Margaret. 74 years old, retired nurse, on a statin for her cholesterol. She'd been dealing with constant ringing for 3 years. It was affecting her sleep, her mood, her ability to concentrate. I asked if anyone had ever mentioned CoQ10 to her. They hadn't. We started her on 200 milligrams of ubiquinol, the active form of CoQ10, twice a day. 3 months later, she told me the ringing was still there, but it had dropped to maybe 30% of what it used to be. She could sleep through the night again. She could follow conversations without straining. She asked me, why isn't this standard practice? Why don't they tell people on statins to take this? I didn't have a good answer. The fix: 200 milligrams of ubiquinol, not ubiquinone, ubiquinol, twice a day with meals. If you're on a statin, this isn't optional. This is essential. I want to be honest with you for a moment, not as a content creator, as a surgeon. I have stood at an operating table at 3 in the morning, holding a heart that had suffered damage that could have been avoided. I have spoken to families in waiting rooms at dawn, families who had no idea anything was wrong when they said goodnight 8 hours earlier. In case after case, the contributing factors were not mysterious. They were ordinary things. A medication nobody thought to question, a nutrient depletion nobody thought to check, a symptom dismissed as just part of aging. These are not exotic risk factors. They are the background noise of millions of ordinary kitchens, medicine cabinets, and doctor's appointments. And that background noise, accumulated day after day, year after year, becomes a crisis nobody saw coming. I want to tell you about a patient. I'll call her Linda, 69 years old, retired accountant, grandmother of 5. She came to me after her primary care doctor wanted her cleared for a routine procedure. During our consultation, she mentioned almost casually that the ringing in her ears had been getting worse for about 4 years. She'd seen 2 ENT specialists. Both told her it was age-related hearing loss and tinnitus, nothing to be done. I asked her to walk me through her daily medications. She was on a diuretic, a PPI, and a statin. I asked if anyone had ever checked her magnesium, zinc, or B12 levels. They hadn't. We ran the tests. Her RBC magnesium was low. Her zinc was borderline. Her methylmalonic acid was elevated. Functional B12 deficiency despite a normal serum B12. We addressed all three. 6 months later, she told me the ringing wasn't completely gone, but it had reduced from what she described as a constant roar to a faint hiss she only noticed in very quiet rooms. She said she could hear her grandchildren's voices clearly again. The first thing she said to me was, "Why didn't anyone tell me this 4 years ago? Why did I have to suffer through this for so long when the fix was this simple?" That question has stayed with me. It's a big part of why I make videos like this one. Let me summarize the 5 things your body is lacking when your ears won't stop ringing. Number 1, magnesium, especially if you're on a diuretic. Number 2, zinc, especially if you're on a PPI or have low stomach acid. Number 3, vitamin B12 in the active methylcobalamin form, especially if you're on metformin or a PPI. Number 4, omega-3 fatty acids, the marine-based EPA and DHA your inner ear depends on for circulation. Number 5, CoQ10, especially if you're on a statin. Which of these do you recognize in yourself? Are you on any of the medications I mentioned? Have you ever had these specific nutrients tested? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. There is someone in your life, a spouse, a sibling, a friend, who is dealing with constant ringing and has been told there's nothing they can do. Send this to them. That one share might be the most important thing you do today. Every week, I bring you honest, evidence-based information that I wish every one of my patients had access to long before they needed surgery. If you want more of that, subscribe. One last thing, and this is important. Everything I've shared today is based on published research and my clinical experience as a cardiothoracic surgeon. But your situation is unique. Your history is individual. Before changing anything, any medication, any supplement, any routine, please talk to your own physician first. That conversation is not a formality. It is the whole point. Better information, better conversations, better outcomes. That's the chain that matters. Your ears have been working for you every single minute of every single day for 60, 70, 80 years without ever asking for anything in return. Give them this. Take care of your heart.